Chapter 4. The Secret of Feeling. The secret of feeling, or calling of the invisible into visible states, is beautifully told in the story of Isaac, blessing his second son Jacob by the belief, based solely upon feeling, that he was blessing his first son Esau. It is recorded that Isaac, who was old and blind, felt that he was about to leave this world and, wishing to bless his first son Esau before he died, sent Esau hunting for savory venison, with the promise that upon his return from the hunt, he would receive his father's blessing. Now, Jacob, who desired the birthright, or right to be born through the blessing of his father, overheard his blind father's request for venison and his promise to Esau. So, as Esau went hunting for the venison, Jacob killed and dressed a kid of his father's flock. Placing the skins upon his smooth body, to give him the feel of his hairy and rough brother Esau, he brought the tastily prepared kid to his blind father Isaac. And Isaac, who depended solely upon his sense of feel, mistook his second son Jacob for his first son Esau, and pronounced his blessing on Jacob. Esau, on his return from the hunt, learned that his smooth-skinned brother Jacob had supplanted him. So he appealed to his father for justice. But Isaac answered and said, "Thy brother came with subtlety, and hath taken away thy blessing. I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants." Simple human decency should tell man that this story cannot be taken literally. There must be a message for man hidden somewhere in this treacherous and despicable act of Jacob. The hidden message, the formula of success buried in this story, was intuitively revealed to the writer in this manner. Isaac, the blind father, is your consciousness, your awareness of being. Esau, the hairy son, is your present objectified world, the rough or sensibly felt, the present moment, the present environment, your present conception of yourself. In short, the world you know by reason of your objective senses. Jacob, the smooth-skinned lad, the second son, is your desire or subjective state, an idea not yet embodied, a subjective state which is perceived and sensed, but not objectively known or seen. A point in time and space removed from the present. In short, Jacob is your defined objective. The smooth-skinned Jacob, or subjective state seeking embodiment or the right of birth, when properly felt or blessed by his father, when consciously felt and fixed as real, becomes objectified, and in so doing, he supplants the rough, hairy Esau, or the former objectified state. Two things cannot occupy a given place at one and the same time. And so, as the invisible is made visible, the former visible state vanishes. Okay, so he's talking here about the story of Jacob and Esau and the blessing of Isaac. So again, to cap the story, Isaac wanted to give his blessing, the birthright blessing, to his first son, Esau, the eldest, the firstborn son, which, according to tradition, generally got the blessing of the father. But Jacob overheard that Isaac had made this request upon Esau to go hunting for venison so that he could give him the blessing. And so Jacob dressed up like Esau. He killed a calf. He put the skin of the calf over his arm so that Isaac, who was blind, when Jacob went to present the food to Isaac, Isaac, who was blind, reached out to touch Jacob. And instead of feeling the smooth-skinned lad of Jacob, he felt the rough hide of the animal that Jacob had killed and thought that he was feeling his son Esau, who was a hairy lad, as opposed to his smooth-skinned Jacob. So he was fooled. And thus, Isaac then pronounced the blessing, gave the birthright blessing to Jacob, dressed up in a hide of an animal. And then Esau comes back from the hunt with the venison prepared to give to his father so that he can receive the blessing, and finds out that he has been supplanted or interrupted, and that Jacob has fooled his father, Isaac, into giving Jacob the blessing as opposed to Esau. And so Esau basically says, well, that's not cool. And he appeals to his father and says, hold on, you gave my blessing that was rightfully due me to Jacob. And Isaac says, it's too late, I'm sorry, I've already given my blessing. Okay, so that's the biblical story. What Neville is describing here is how it is a metaphor for how you can assume something to be real through the feeling of it. So in that case, Isaac is your I amness, your awareness of being, your father, the awareness which can only feel. Feeling is the only truth to your root state of awareness. So you have two states. You have Esau, which is the outpictured visible world around you. And Esau is hairy, and you can feel it with your senses. So that's your current world around you. Well, if you want to fool yourself into creating or giving blessing to a new world to be created, you have to create that new desire in the form of in the form of Jacob, and then dress it up as Esau so that Isaac, the father, can feel the reality of the desired state, Jacob. So that's where Jacob puts on the skin of the dead animal so that Isaac can be fooled into thinking that he's actually Esau. So this is the concept of putting yourself into a state of controlled reverie and imagination, meditative state, closing your eyes, and then imagining that you are now what you want to be, and specifically what that feels like, really getting into the feeling of it. And if you really get into the feeling of it, you can fool your awareness into giving blessing to that state so that that state will become real in the outpictured world around you. It's a pretty awesome analogy there, metaphor story there. And then it says that because two things cannot occupy one space at a given single time, the invisible is made visible and the former visible state vanishes. So this is where Neville talks about you must abandon yourself to your ideal. You must allow the old you to die so that you can step into the being, the awareness of being, the ideal you, the you that you want to be, the you that you desire to embody. You are that you, and anything that is not that has to pass away, has to vanish, has to die. Your consciousness is the cause of your world. The conscious state in which you abide determines the kind of world in which you live. Your present concept of yourself is now objectified as your environment. And this state is symbolized as Esau, the hairy, or sensibly felt, the first son. That which you would like to be or possess is symbolized as your second son, Jacob, the smooth-skinned lad who is not yet seen, but is subjectively sensed and felt, and will, if properly touched, supplant his brother Esau or your present world. Always bear in mind the fact that Isaac, the father of these two sons or states, is blind. He does not see his smooth-skinned son Jacob. He only feels him. And through the sense of feeling, he actually believes Jacob, the subjective, to be Esau, the real or objectified. You do not see your desire objectively, you simply sense it, feel it, subjectively. You do not grope in space after a desirable state. Like Isaac, you sit still and send your first son hunting by removing your attention from the objective world. Then, in the absence of your first son, Esau, you invite the desirable state, your second son, Jacob, to come close so that you may feel it. Come close, my son, that I may feel you. First, you are aware of it in your immediate environment. Then, you draw it closer and closer and closer until you sense it and feel it in your immediate presence, so that it is real and natural to you. If two of you shall agree on earth as touching on any point that they shall ask, it shall be done for them by my Father, which is in heaven. The two agree through the sense of feel, and the agreement is established on earth, is objectified, is made real. The two agreeing are Isaac and Jacob, you and that which you desire. And the agreement is made solely on the sense of feeling. Esau symbolizes your present objectified world, whether it be pleasant or otherwise. Jacob symbolizes any and every desire of your heart. Isaac symbolizes your true self, with your eyes closed to the present world. In the act of sensing and feeling yourself to be or to possess that which you desire to be or to possess. The secret of Isaac, the sensing feeling state, is simply the act of mentally separating the sensibly felt, your present physical state, from the insensibly felt, that which you would like to be. With the objective senses tightly shut, Isaac made, and you can make, the insensibly felt, the subjective state, seem real or sensibly known. For faith is knowledge. Okay, so here he's getting into more detail about the metaphorical story of Jacob, Esau, and Isaac. And the key point here is he says, Jacob symbolizes any and every desire of your heart. Isaac is your true self, but with your eyes closed to the present world. So when you go into this controlled reverie that Neville talks about, where you reduce the senses of the outer world, if you shut out or go into a meditative state, if you kind of relax and let your outer world fade away and go within, that is your Isaac, your sense of the world with your eyes closed. You can only feel. Then, in that state, as Isaac, you feel that whatever it is that you're desiring, that state, you feel that conditioned state to be real, and you draw it closer and closer and closer until you make real with your inner senses that which you are imagining to be real, that state that you're creating and calling to you. And with the objective senses shut, with his eyes closed, Isaac was able to make what wasn't felt, what wasn't actually there for him to feel. For faith is knowledge. Knowing the law of self-expression, the law by which the invisible is made visible, is not enough. It must be applied, and this is the method of application. First, send your first son Esau, your present objectified world or problem, hunting. This is accomplished simply by closing your eyes and taking your attention away from the objectified limitations. As your senses are removed from your objective world, it vanishes from your consciousness or goes hunting. Second, with your eyes still closed and your attention removed from the world round about you, consciously fix the natural time and place for the realization of your desire. With your objective senses closed to your present environment, you can sense and feel the reality of any point in time or space, for both are psychological and can be created at will. It is vitally important that the natural time-space condition of Jacob, that is, the natural time and place for the realization of your desire, be first fixed in your consciousness. If Sunday is the day on which the thing desired is to be realized, then Sunday must be fixed in consciousness now. Simply begin to feel that it is Sunday until the quietness and naturalness of Sunday is consciously established. You have definite associations with the days, weeks, months, and years, months and seasons of the year. You have said time and time again, today feels like Sunday, or Monday, or Saturday, or this feels like spring, or summer, or fall, or winter. This should convince you that you have a definite conscious impressions that you associate with the days, weeks, and seasons of the year. Then, because of these associations, you can select any desirable time, and by recalling the conscious impression associated with such time, you can make it a subjective reality of that time now. Do the same thing with space. If the room in which you are seated is not the room in which the thing desired would be naturally placed or realized, feel yourself seated in the room or place where it would be natural. Consciously fix this time-space impression before you start the act of sensing and feeling the nearness, the reality, and the possession of the thing desired. It matters not whether the place desired be 10,000 miles away or only next door. You must fix in consciousness the fact that right where you are seated is the desired place. You do not make a mental journey, you collapse space. Sit quietly where you are and make there-ness here-ness. Close your eyes and feel that the very place where you are is the place desired. Feel and sense the reality of it until you are consciously impressed with this fact. For your knowledge of this fact is based solely on your subjective sensing. Again, consciously fix this time-space impression before you start the act of sensing and feeling the nearness, the reality, and the possession of the thing desired. It matters not whether the place desired be 10,000 miles away or only next door. You must fix in consciousness the fact that right where you are seated is the desired place. If you do not make a mental journey, you collapse space. Sit quietly where you are and make there-ness here-ness. Close your eyes and feel that the very place where you are is the place desired. Feel and sense the reality of it until you are consciously impressed with this fact. For your knowledge of this fact is based solely on your subjective sensing. Third, in the absence of Esau, the problem, and with the natural time-space established, you invite Jacob, the solution, to come and fill this space, to come and supplant his brother. In your imagination, see the thing desired. If you cannot visualize it, sense the general outline of it. Contemplate it. Then mentally draw it close to you. Come close, my son, that I may feel you. Feel the nearness of it. Feel it to be in your immediate presence. Feel the reality and solidity of it. Feel it and see it naturally placed in the room in which you are seated. Feel the thrill of actual accomplishment and the joy of possession. Now, open your eyes. This brings you back to the objective world, the rough or sensibly felt world. Your hairy son Esau has returned from the hunt and, by his very presence, tells you that you have been betrayed by your smooth-skinned son Jacob, the subjective, psychologically felt. But, like Isaac, whose confidence was based upon the knowledge of this changeless law, you too will say, I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants. That is, even though your problem appears fixed and real, you have felt the subjective psychological state to be real to the point of receiving the thrill of that reality. You have experienced the secret of creation, for you have felt the reality of the subjective. Again, even though your problems appear fixed and real, you have felt the subjective psychological state to be real to the point of receiving the thrill of that reality. You have experienced the secret of creation, for you have felt the reality of the subjective. You have fixed a definite psychological state which, in spite of all opposition or precedent, will objectify itself, thereby fulfilling the name of Jacob, the supplanter. Okay, this is an important one. So he's coaching us to set the scene, for the creation of the experience of what it is that we want to have or be. And he says the first step is the first step is to send Esau hunting. So the first step is to dim out the world around you, to get into a meditative reverie. Lean back on a chair or a bed, relax, close your eyes, allow the world around you to fade away, and then begin to paint a scene. And the first step of painting the scene is to set the time and the space, the here and the now. The here and now, the time and space. So he says the first step is to choose what time would be natural. So if you were imagining yourself, let's say you wanted to travel somewhere, you wanted to put yourself on a mountainside in Germany in the springtime. Well, you would make here and now, then and there. You would make then and there, here and now. You literally collapse time and space, and where you're sitting in your controlled reverie, you would imagine to yourself, this is springtime, and you begin to feel what spring feels like. And he says, you have a reference point for this already, because how many times have you stepped outside and said, feels like spring, or this feels like kind of a summery day for some reason. Whatever those little fleeting sensory impressions that you get that make you say things like that, or today feels like a Monday, whatever those little fleeting sensory impressions that you get that make you say things like that or feel things like that, you're going to plug into those and emphasize those feelings in your consciousness to make them feel real. Today is a weekday in spring. It feels like a Wednesday in spring. And then you're going to set the scene of the place. So again, if you wanted to travel to the mountains of Germany, you would say, this is Wednesday in the spring, and I'm sitting on a bench at the base of this gorgeous vista. And in your mind, you would feel what it feels like to be sitting in that place, in that room, wherever you would be sitting at that time where your desired reality, you're going to make that here and now. And then you're going to give that sensory impression a feeling of realness by putting yourself in that state and feeling it to be real. He says, feel and sense the reality of it until you are consciously impressed with this fact. For your knowledge of this fact is based solely on your subjective sensing. Here are a few practical examples of this drama. First, the blessing or making a thing real. Sit in your living room and name a piece of furniture, rug, or lamp that you would like to have in this particular room. Look at that area of the room where you would place it if you had it. Close your eyes and let all that now occupies that area of the room vanish. In your imagination, see this area as empty space. There is absolutely nothing there. Now, begin to fill this space with a desired piece of furniture. Sense and feel that you have it in this very area. Imagine you are seeing that which you desired to see. Continue in this consciousness until you feel the thrill of possession. Second, the blessing or making of a place real. You are now seated in your apartment in New York City, contemplating the joy that would be yours if you were on an ocean liner sailing across the great Atlantic. I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again, and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. Your eyes are closed. You have consciously released the New York apartment, and, in its place, you sense and feel that you are on an ocean liner. You are seated in a deck chair. There's nothing round about you but the vast Atlantic. Fix the reality of this ship and ocean so that in this state you can mentally recall the day when you were seated in your New York apartment dreaming of this day at sea. Recall the mental picture of yourself seated there in New York dreaming of this day. In your imagination, see the memory picture of yourself back there in your New York apartment. If you succeed in looking back on your New York apartment without consciously returning there, then you have successfully prepared the reality of this voyage. Remain in this conscious state of feeling the reality of the ship and the ocean, feel the joy of this accomplishment, then open your eyes. You have gone and prepared the place. You have fixed a definite psychological state, and where you are in consciousness, there you shall be in body also. Third, the blessing or making real of a point in time. You consciously let go of this day, month, or year, as the case may be, and you imagine that it is now the day, month, or year which you desire to experience. You sense and feel the reality of the desired time by impressing upon yourself the fact that it is now accomplished. As you sense the naturalness of this time, you begin to feel the thrill of having fully realized that which you started this psychological journey in time you desired to experience at this time. Again, consciously let go of this day, month, or year as the case may be, and imagine that it is now the day, month, or year which you desire to experience. Impress upon yourself the fact that it is now accomplished. As you sense the naturalness of this time, you begin to feel the thrill of having fully realized that which, before you started this psychological journey in time, you desired to experience at this time. With the knowledge of your power to bless, you can open the doors of any prison, the prison of illness, or poverty, or of a humdrum existence. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. Okay, so here Neville talks about setting the scene for creating the feeling, for going and creating that place. And when you go and create that place, the first thing you do is you set the scene. That's the time and the space. So he says you choose the time that it is, and you begin to take on the feeling that it is that time while you're in your controlled state of reverie, your imaginal state, your meditative state. You begin to think, oh, it is whatever time of year. And then where are you? You start to feel the realness of the place that would feel natural, the place where the thing desired or the state desired would naturally appear. So you make the there-ness here-ness. And then you feel the reality and the solidity of that thing. And then he gives a couple of practical examples of the drama. So he talks about how to make a thing become real through blessing it into realness. And so he talks about how in your living room you could sit and imagine a part of your room where you would want something placed. And then imagine that there's nothing there, and then feel it into place. Begin to feel that you see whatever it is that you want to see, whatever you desire to see, feel it into that part of the room. And continue in this consciousness until you feel the thrill of possession. And then he talks about how to bless or make a place real if you wanted to travel someplace. He says he would have his eyes closed, he would release himself from his current surroundings, step into the surroundings that he desires to be in, and then imagine from those new surroundings himself in the past imagining this current surroundings. And if you can do that successfully, if you can time travel to the place and then from that place imagine back to where you began the whole process, he says that's the secret of success. Then that's how you know you have successfully prepared the reality of the voyage, he says. And then you hold that conscious feeling, that feeling of joy that you have accomplished your dream, that you had back there in my apartment. Here I am on the ship, and I'm remembering back this dream I had in my apartment of being on the ship, and I feel the thrill of knowing that my dream came true. And I continue in holding that thrill until I feel the joy of accomplishment. Then I can open my eyes and know that I have gone and prepared a place, and that if I have gone and prepared a place, I will come back and receive myself to that place, meaning that where I am in consciousness, I will be in body as well. So he describes how to do this as blessing something into reality. And he ends the chapter by saying that with knowledge of your power to bless, you can open the doors of any prison, be it the prison of illness, the prison of poverty, or even the prison of a humdrum existence. And that is the end of chapter 4. Subscribe to this channel so that you will receive notifications on your device when new Neville Goddard content is posted.